Hi everyone, I'm Rebecca Virginia, and today I have a brand new holiday DIYs to share with you. Let's waste no time and jump right into the first DIY. Best part of this is the supplies that are needed in this one, you probably already have laying around your house. All you're going to need is first some faux snow. You can pick this up in the crafting section of the Dollar Tree, usually where they have the holiday crafts, and I'm basically just making a little snowscape. I made a little bit of a mound of the faux snow, and then I tucked in a little tree that I got at the Dollar Tree and one of the wooden snowman ornaments. Then I just placed a large wine glass that I also picked up at the Dollar Tree on top of it, and it kind of looks like your own little snow globe. I did the exact same thing with a smaller lipped wine glass, so I just tucked down some of the little mini Christmas trees that again you can pick up at the Dollar Tree and then place the wine glass over it. The fun part, to top it all off, I put some LED candles on there so you have your snowy scene down below, but it can also be functional decor by adding those candles. Next up, it's not a holiday video without a brand new holiday wreath, and this one's one of my favorites because I found a much faster and easier wreath technique that I did for the first time in the fall, and I did it again for this holiday season, and yeah, it is a lot quicker than my previous method. Unfortunately, my Dollar Trees just did not have ribbon come out. They only had the really skinny ribbon, and I needed the large kind. So I ended up going to Target. They had a pretty good sale on their Wonder Shop. And then this cardinal ribbon I already had in my craft stash. You are going to need 4 different selections, or at least that's what I did in mine. And all of this ribbon was 30 feet. So that is the length of it. And I had a little bit left over at the end of my wreath. The wreath form is from the Dollar Tree. I use zip ties to get my ribbons to fit on the second bar on my wreath. You'll have the ribbons all stacked up on top of one another. It doesn't matter what order they're in because when you go through and pull them apart, that's when you're going to determine the order of the ribbons. So you're basically making these mounds. It kind of looks like candy ribbon, but I always think of it as the Loch Ness Monster. That's whenever I'm making this wreath, that is what my mind goes to. So I'm making little mounds or little Loch Ness Monster to go all the way around my wreath by taking a chunk, pinching it, and then using the zip tie to make sure it stays to the wire wreath form. Also, I have seen all of your comments that have requested more religious themed videos discussing the true meaning of Christmas, and don't worry, I have one coming up. Next week, I think I'm going to do my DIY Christmas gifts video, but then right after that, when it gets actually into December, I will be doing a video like that, so don't worry, I have heard your requests. Okay, so back to this wreath. I'm speeding it up because you basically just have to do this all the way around the wreath, and it can take a little bit. But once I had a section done, I wanted to show you guys how you can pull it apart. And you're just going to grab the different ribbons and pull them in all different directions. Every single time that I'm pulling one apart, I like to make sure that the ribbon is going opposite of what the previous mound did, just so that it's more scattered. Of course, if you want your ribbons to go all in one direction, go for it. This is also why I really recommend using wire ribbon because you can manipulate and pull apart the ribbon much easier. 2 of the ribbons I used today did not have wire in them, and it definitely showed it was a little bit more difficult. I always like to put something in the center of the wreath. Of course, you could just leave it bare. I took one of these wood Christmas signs from the Dollar Tree, and I wanted to cover it with an image. I really liked what was on this gift bag, so I am using that kind of as my scrapbooking paper or layer that I'm going to be doing over it. So I just cut open the bag because the sign did go a little bit further, so I needed the sides of the bag in there. I traced it out onto the sign and then added a little bit of hot glue just to make sure that everything was adhered. And I love this image. It's perfect because it kind of combines the Christmassy colors, but also with that nice winter image. For the center bow, this is one of my favorite techniques. I have a whole video on it where I go much more in depth, so I'll link that above, but it's so easy. You just pinch it in the center and you are constantly just pinching and twisting the bow. And it's so easy, but I think it looks super nice. Again, I will link up above my in-depth tutorial on this, but it's honestly really easy. And then you just secure everything together. Good old zip tie. To get the sign in place, I just add a little bit of hot glue. I've used this in previous wreaths that I've done, and it always does the trick. There was a little bit of empty space up at the top, so that's why I made the bow out of some cardinal ribbon that I had left over. And I thought the wreath was done, but looking at it, I thought I could add a little bit more. So I had these really tiny ornaments in gold and red, and they had glitter and like a satin finish to them. I really loved them. I got a bunch of them from the Dollar Tree. So I think it's a pretty good deal because they're really nice to craft with. And I just kind of haphazardly put those all the way around the wreath, just adhering it with a bit of hot glue. And I absolutely love the way that this turned out. Next up is a fun one because it's outside of my usual Dollar Tree crafting zone, but we were gifted for our wedding this large hurricane vase, and besides putting a candle in it, I wasn't sure what to do with it, but I saw a lot of people do something similar to this on Instagram, so I wanted to try doing it using some Walmart and Amazon goods. So I did take one of my tiny juice glass jars and I placed that down in the center of the hurricane vase. And then I got this massive pack, a 24 pack of beautiful bronze ornaments for $6 at Walmart. And those are going to be our filler. Then these really awesome holly branches that light up are from Amazon and they're on a timer, which is really nice because if you had to keep turning them on and off manually on the switch, it wouldn't work because I have the ornaments covering the battery pack so that you don't see it. So I absolutely love that these are on a timer. So once I had my holly branches in there, I just continued filling it up with the bronze ornaments from Walmart. Again, I can't believe that it was only $6 because these are really gorgeous ornaments. They would even look really nice on your tree. Look, my dog is even intrigued. So once I was done with that, I thought it needed a little bit of greenery because everything was very bronze and then just a little bit of the holly berry. So I did take some floral picks from the Dollar Tree and I just stuck those all down around and even put it in a pine cone. I love the way that this looks. It is currently exactly where you see it in this video. It's sitting on our coffee table, and it's such a nice festive thing to see when you first get home. The next DIY is a little bit harking back to 2021 crafting YouTube because it's a really simple DIY. All I'm doing is giving a Dollar Tree sign a makeover. So Dollar Tree comes out with many signs every single holiday season, but the ornament signs are always there every Christmas. They have been since I started crafting in 2020 and 2021. So I am taking one of the wall decals. This is one of my favorite ones to use. It gives such a beautiful pattern, and I'm sticking it right onto our ornament sign and then trimming off any of the excess. Then once I had it all cut out, I did hot glue back the ornament topper back onto the sign. Next up, I'm covering the entire sign in some red paint. This one very well named. It is called Christmas Red by Apple Barrel, so I'm completely covering the ornament and then leaving that to dry. Next, I want to distress the sign so that it has that rustic, kind of old Christmas look to it. So I went in with one of my chip brushes and didn't really wet it, kept it pretty dry, and just put the tiniest bit of brown paint on it and went all over. This is why I love the wallpaper where it's like 3D with that raised texture, because the brown will really cling to the raised spots and then the red paint will stay on the ones down below, and it gives a really gorgeous look. Then it was time to accessorize the top. I found a door hanger that had a bunch of bells on it at the Dollar Tree, so I'm using the bells for some different projects. So I hung two down there and then added in some garland, especially this one that had the little pine cones on it, as well as two cinnamon sticks. For the bow, I just took a bunch of scrap fabric that I had and cut it into strips, and then basically started making X's and plus signs with the ribbon. That's how I get my messy X bows. And then once I had it the way that I liked, I hot glued it down, added another one of those bells from the door hanger that I mentioned just a second ago, and then went in with some sharp precision scissors and just dovetailed the ends of all of the pretty ribbon strips. There was a one little blank spot up at the top, so I grabbed another garland pick, cut it down to size, and added a little pine cone on top. I love the way this one came out. It definitely made me nostalgic for the earlier days of crafting here on YouTube, where a lot of us would just take Dollar Tree signs and give them a nice quick makeover. This next DIY is super quick and easy, and again, you might have the items already laying around your house, so if you don't find yourself to be particularly crafty, or maybe you don't have a lot of time to craft something up for the holidays, this is a great one for you. So I'm using a real candle and then a taller LED pillar candle. I always have a bunch of burlap fabric on me, so I cut this burlap into strips. One is going to end up being, of course, a little bit thicker because it's a larger candle. So once I had cut it down to size so that it could wrap around the candle, I just pulled back two pieces of the burlap on the top and the bottom so it had a little bit more of that frayed design. And then I did the exact same thing for the smaller actual candle. Then to accessorize, I hot glued just a little bit of one of the garland picks from the Dollar Tree onto our candles. And even though it's hot glued on, I wanted to look like it was wrapped up with some twine. So I took my good old Dollar Tree jute and wrapped it around the candles and finished it all off with a bow. This is a really simple DIY, but I think it's so beautiful. It would look nice on a mantle, or if you're doing a tablescape for the holiday season, I think this one is also going to be great. But of course, if you are using a real candle, I would not light it, or if you are, make sure you're watching it because it could be a fire hazard. Next up, these ones are just so cute. They make me so happy because they're just fuzzy little trees and I just think they're adorable. So I made my own trees using some cardstock and some leftover cardboard paper and turned it into a cone. Very easy to do. And to turn this into a fuzzy tree, I took one of the dusters from the Dollar Tree and I cut it in half, one for the larger cone and one for the smaller cone. And then I hot glued it onto our cone trees. Again, just using some hot glue. And at this point, it kind of just looks like a giant fuzzball. So you have to give it a major haircut. So after you hot glue it on, you're going to want to really trim around the top of the tree because, of course, the top of the tree is going to be smaller and then it tapers larger down at the bottom. So in order to do that, it is going to be major haircut time. So it kind of felt like I was working with Cousin It here while I was trimming this Christmas tree. But again, I just think they're really cute. They remind me of something you'd see in Whoville or one of those claymations. It really made me smile when I was doing this. Again, not really sure why, but I really liked it. And to finish them off, I did grab some fairy lights and wrapped them around our trees. Okay, so next up is not so much a DIY, but I do have a free printable for you. I found it from a really great blog and I loved it. All I did was print it out and then tuck it into one of these Dollar Tree frames. The best part is the frame has glass on it, so you could take a dry erasable marker and even check off all of the holiday movies that you see as you are watching them in real time.
Next up is this cozy looking candle that uses an old mitten. This is a really quick and a really easy DIY, but I think it looks very high-end and like something you would find in Home Goods. So I am just taking this tall, super sparkly green candle and placing it inside of my mitten. This is one of those mittens that throughout the years I lost its mate, but I held on to because I thought I could use it for some sort of DIY. Then I scrunched down the mitten and it left some fuzzies on my candle, so that's why I got the lint roller and kind of fixed the candle. If your candle comes with a plastic on it, I would just leave it because it's not like we're going to light this candle anyway. It's just for decoration. And then super simple, I'm adding some garland that has a berry and a pine cone on it and just hot gluing that to the bottom left part of the candle. I had one of these icy twig pieces that I really liked too and thought kind of went with the sparkleness of the green candle, so I went ahead and hot glued that down onto the candle as well. And that's all that you need to do. It is so easy and requires very minimal effort, but I think the end result is so beautiful and looks great on the mantle.
Next, I'm going to be showing you how you can decorate a plain plate with some Mod Podge and fabric from the Dollar Tree. This is great as a decor piece, but you can also place some candies and cookies on it too. So I took one of these clear plates from the Dollar Tree and I had two different sets of the Dollar Tree fabric. So that was me just trying to figure out which one I wanted to use. And I did decide to end up going with the candy canes. So to adhere our fabric onto the plate, I am first taking some Mod Podge. Mine is the matte kind. I think the gloss would be fine or the satin finish, but I've always used the matte kind when I am creating these fabric plates. And you want to make sure you don't have any area without Mod Podge because then the fabric won't adhere and it will show through. So once your plate is nice and saturated with the Mod Podge, you're going to place down the fabric and really press, make sure there's no bubbles, no areas where the Mod Podge is kind of making the fabric pucker or crinkle, and just really smooth everything out. I cut away some of that excess fabric and again, I'm just smoothing everything out, and then I left it for about an hour to dry. Once everything was pretty much dry, I came back to the plate and grabbed my scissors, and I'm just cutting away all of that excess fabric. It's kind of like trimming a pie. I saw someone mention in a previous video where I did a similar DIY, and that is very true. Then I flip the plate back over, and this is the part where we're going to add a bunch of Mod Podge because this is going to really seal in all of that fabric. So I'm applying all of the Mod Podge, and I did leave this to dry for 24 hours before flipping the final product back over. I found this adorable image on Cricut Design Space, so I went ahead and adhered this vinyl down to the front of our plate. Just keep in mind that this will not be dishwasher safe. You'll only be able to hand wash it. So that will dictate what you'll be able to put on this plate. You could theoretically put some cookies and fresh baked goods on it, but I would suggest going with something that is wrapped. I love decorating my mantle for the Christmas season and was trying to think, usually I'm doing tablescapes, but I kind of wanted to do something that you'd be able to place on your mantle and have a mantelscape. So this is a really easy DIY. I just used a lot of different items from the Dollar Tree and the Target dollar spot. First up, one of these wood signs that actually came out during the fall season, so it's probably still out in your Dollar Tree since it is still technically fall. It said "Gathered Together" on it, and I tried painting over it, but didn't like how that came out, so I ended up just using some wood scrapbooking paper from Hobby Lobby and placing that over it, and I just used a glue stick. It didn't feel like getting out the hot glue or the Mod Podge for this craft, so I'm just using my Dollar Tree glue stick to adhere the paper onto our sign. I love all the different wood ornaments, wood pieces, wood stickers the Dollar Tree comes out with, especially these snowflakes. They were on a sticker sheet, so I painted it powder blue and attached it with one of these glue dots. Then, using my cutting machine, I cut out the words "Hope" in a metallic silver vinyl, but I actually think it would look even better if you picked up the wood letters from the Crafter Square section of the Dollar Tree. It would give it a more rustic look. Next, I adhered this church ornament onto the center of our hope sign and then added Dollar Tree florals, trees, and some Dollar Trees from the Target dollar spot to complete our mantelscape.
I just released last week a brand new video with a bunch of new Christmas ornament DIYs, so be sure to check this one out. But I also wanted to include this one because I've seen the wood slices yet again in the Crafters Square section of the Dollar Tree. So next time you're shopping at Dollar Tree, make sure to check out that section because there are so many different DIYs that you can do with this item.
And I'm using a little bit of this red and white baker's twine to turn it into an ornament, and adding some little white and red balls onto the ornament as an embellishment. And I will have this True Story SVG file linked down below for all of you to use. I've had this plain wood door hanger in my craft stash for a while now and wasn't sure what to use it. Then I was checking out some Christmas DIYs for inspiration on Pinterest and saw that there's actually kind of a movement for people who don't have chimneys to create these door hangers with magical keys for Santa. So I thought that I would do one. I painted it red using the color Crimson by Waverly. And then I wanted to add a little bit of embellishment to it. So I actually picked up their polymer clay faux sprinkles from Amazon. I'll have those linked in my Amazon shop down below, and I wanted to add those to the top section of the door hanger, so I'm just putting down a layer of Mod Podge and then sprinkling on the faux clay sprinkles and waiting for that to dry before I moved on to adding in my saying. the final embellishment for this DIY was adding in the magic key. I know that the Dollar Tree sells the wood keys in the Crafter Square section, but I actually picked up a whole packet of these keys from Temu, so I thought this worked perfectly. And I did add a little bit of that red and white baker's twine. I just wrapped that around the key and tied it off in a bow. This is perfect if you don't have a chimney or if you live in an apartment, as a special way for your kids to welcome Santa into your home.
Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.